Welcome to the Lead Her Radio Show, where up is in and women are on the rise. Featuring your host, Kim Boudreaux-Smith, business consultant and strategist, speaker, and international best-selling author. Kim supports women entrepreneurs in becoming top producers in their business. Kim's guests will be sharing business strategies and how to overcome obstacles and achieve true success. And now, here's your host, Kim Boudreaux-Smith.
Hey everybody, welcome back. It is Bold Mindful Mondays with Lead Her Up As In, Women on the Rise. I should not be saying women on the rise. These women have risen that are on my show, and they are even rising even more. I've got a phenomenal guest tonight. Cannot wait to bring her out as she's sitting very comfortably in my green room. But anyways, welcome back. I cannot believe it is another Monday evening. If you're on Eastern Standard Time, it is evening. Getting close for my my bedtime. If you know me very well, people laugh at me. I like to turn in early because I'm an early riser. I love the mornings. Anyways, we are broadcasting live from the Bold radio station. This is a 5-star turnkey opportunity for people, especially women, who'd like to have their voices heard through their own radio show. And you can find more information about that on the boldradiostation.com website. Also, my website is kimbasandboysmith.com. As a lot of you know, on December 20th, I launched Bold is Beautiful, and that became an number one international best-selling book. And I'm in the process of compiling another book. So if you would like a beautiful opportunity to be a co-author with a group of dynamic women, go to my Kim B. Smith, my Kim B. Smith website. Just fill out the contact form and just say you're interested in the anthology or book project, and I'll get back with you as soon as I receive that email. So, and that is a wonderful experience. In fact, my guest tonight is a co-author with me in one of the anthology projects I did last year. This is the beauty of the anthologies, are the women that I get to connect with. That is one of my most favorite parts, among the fact of our words in our books, how it just reaches humanity and inspires and motivates, unbeknownst to a lot of that inspiring and motivation that we probably will never know in this lifetime. So I am going to move on because I really want to bring my guest out, Andrea. So without further ado, please, Andrea Dykstra is known as the shortcut expert. Love that. She is also a number one international best-selling author, successful life coach, and inspirational speaker. Whether it's through Andrea's Shortcuts to Spirituality experience, the Guru You online program, and her one-on-one shortcut coaching, Andrea serves women who are going through deep transition. Andrea is intimately familiar with the path from trauma to healing, and she uses her life experience, abundance of certification, and the gift of her storytelling to inspire and uplift you and teach you how to reclaim your power. Through Andrea's Shortcuts, you will learn how to nurture your gifts, talents, and passions and easily create the life of your dreams, empowering you to live with more joy, peace, and love. So everybody, without further ado, could you please all welcome Andrea Dykstra. Andrea, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Kim. That was a beautiful introduction. And even prior to that, I love what you said about the anthology. And I love that we met there and are, continuing this collaboration together. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's what, it's like I said, my two main favorite things, and in no specific order, 1, 2, 2, 1, of those anthologies is connecting with other women, that sisterhood, that bond, and
yes.
and just that the humanity that our words are going to touch. And I don't mean to sound selfish, so I hope I'm not coming across that way, but seriously, it is really powerful whom our words do touch and move and inspire and motivate, and that gives me goosebumps. I love that.
Absolutely. I love that goosebump feeling.
Yeah, I know. Well, so you know what? Let's just jump in. Let's just jump right on in. And I know quite a bit about your background, of course, from being in a book together. But before we get totally involved here, I want to start with a little bit with your story, if you don't mind. So, and I know it was within a year, and I think it was if I'm correct, if I remember my notes, it was a year ago. You went from near-death experience to, oh my goodness gracious, becoming a #1 international best-selling author. Okay, and you have 8 books awaiting editing. Oh my God, you have 8 books. Oh my
yes,
God.
8.
I'll be right back. I gotta take a nap. Including your trilogy, Shortcuts to Spirituality. Girl, you have been busy. So,
absolutely.
Tell me from let's share a little bit about you. Let's just begin with a little bit your near-death experience and how you've pulled yourself through it.
Sure, absolutely. The near-death experience for me was really sort of a blind side, and probably that's the way it happens for everyone. It's near-death, so it's kind of a shocking experience. And how that came to me was through adrenal fatigue, which, people don't seem to know too much about adrenal fatigue, and I've kind of gotten out on the bandwagon about it just to warn people and have them check with their doctor, or, look into whether their symptoms are depression or anxiety or whatever that is, and maybe it's actually adrenal fatigue. So when I went into that adrenal fatigue state, it actually triggered something in me that had been residing in me for a while, which was CPTSD. And that is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that sort of set this series of events in motion. And for me, I literally got to the point where I was either going to die or I was going to make it through this. And so I guess that's really the starting point on the whole, the background to give people before I became a #1 international bestseller. And it was actually during that time that I wrote those 8 books.
Oh, I've heard people say that writing is so healing, and I know that your excuse my expression, your downtime when you were in the midst of this adrenal issues that you were going through. I know, because you have shared with me that you did take that opportunity and write. So I really want to get this point across, Andrea, is just because we are sick, we may not be running at 5,000 full speeds ahead. We only may be running at maybe 99. That just means you do what you can do when you are healing from something. And writing, even though I'm not a big writer, even though I do participate in these books, writing is a very wonderful way of healing. So you really utilized being slowed down, not by choice, because that happened not by choice.
Yeah.
And while you were healing, taking this advantage. So I want to back you up here. Okay. What do you know about adrenal discombobulation, as I call it, adrenal failure? I mean, how did you discover this? Because I think there's a lot of people out there functioning.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And for me, it was really interesting. I actually had a client who was going through one of my programs, and she said to me, I'm going through, these certain symptoms. And it was things around fatigue and cravings and weight gain and things like that. And although, everybody's not the same, I didn't experience any weight gain at all. In fact, I lost a lot of weight. So it is different for everyone. It doesn't look the same. But when she said that to me, I went, it's really interesting. I've been craving root beer. And I never crave sweets. I never crave anything. I'm really in this homeostasis state. And I started looking into, for her, information about adrenal fatigue and really realized it was for me as well. And so my doctors had been for, a couple of years been trying to prescribe me antidepressants and different medications like that. And I knew I wasn't depressed. I knew that wasn't the issue. And so I kept saying to them, well, I don't want to take these. And it just got to this point where my doctor said, okay, I can't do anything more for you because you're not going to take the drugs. And he actually referred me to a naturopath. So that's where I really was able to put all the pieces together with the naturopath.
And so after the naturopath was able to assist you in pulling all the pieces of the puzzle together, what was next? I mean, did you have to pretty much, just take your business and put it to neutral drive or on the back burner? Yes. And was it a lot of curling in bed and resting? I mean,
absolutely. You've nailed it on the head. I stayed in bed for a majority of the time. In fact, even doing a, very quick yoga session would tire me out so much that I'd have to take a 3-hour nap. And that was from 20 minutes of light sort of stretching yoga, just a really gentle flow sequence. So I took a lot of time to rest. And then other than that, I really spent the time writing. It was so cathartic to me to just get all that stuff out. And really, I had nowhere to go but inward when I was going through all this. So it was absolutely, even though it came in the guise of adrenal fatigue, I consider it one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given.
Yeah. Sometimes we need those big, beautiful gifts like that to slow us down. I've got a couple of those that have happened to me. In fact, I've received a couple of those large gifts, and I chose not to slow down after it. It was a couple other little things that came out of that several years later. But, all right, so let's, anyways, CPTSD. Say that. What is that again, Andrea?
Yes, it's complex post-traumatic stress disorder.
Okay, and what is that?
So it differs a little bit from post-traumatic stress disorder in that it just has more layers than the traditional form. And it's really common among kidnap victims, childhood sexual abuse survivors, concentration camp survivors, and prisoners of war. Mm. So it's just, I guess, a deeper version of post-traumatic stress syndrome. Or disorder.
Okay, and how did you evolve? Was it with that was it with that one physician that helped you put the pieces together? That's what you.
Yeah, so working with the naturopath, I was able to go through this process with her, and what happened, of course, was even though the stuff that she gave me was natural, it still takes energy for your body to assimilate it. So what happened when she gave me the initial stuff was my entire system absolutely crashed around Christmas. And I mean, I was so flat on my back and so completely not myself that I was forced into this state of resting, and, I was forced further inward, really. And that's when I really started the writing, and that's when that process became so important to me to get through. And that's actually what happened with the missing piece. That's when it sort of formed, was in that. And it was literally the first thing I did coming out of the adrenal fatigue was become a #1 international bestseller. So it was this big sort of, she's been missing for a year, and all of a sudden, bam, here she is. Here's a #1 international bestseller, and then the business just took off. So it's quite incredible for people to look at, okay, she's, going one way with her business, don't hear from her for a year, and then suddenly she's back on stage with this whole new philosophy.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So when you were coming out of the adrenal, is when you decided to commit to the missing piece.
Yes. So wow. It was really in the later stages. So probably about 10 months in was when I decided to commit to the missing piece. And I haven't looked back since that.
Yeah, that's good. You haven't looked back. All right. So I know, and I think some of the people might have just picked up with what you just said. You are in the midst of rebranding and launching your new website. And you're releasing your online program, theGuru. I love that. And your shortcut life coaching is thriving. So what has all shifted for you along with these books? I know they're not available for purchase yet. Stay tuned, everybody, because they will be shortly. So what's the big shift here? What can you offer to our listeners?
Yeah, wow. I mean, obviously there's a lot of layers and foundational pieces for me. But I know that I shared this great quote from Shortcuts to Spirituality, and it says, "My mind asked, what's different this time? My heart replied, I am." And it's literally that transformation of thinking. So when I actually stepped into my role as a creator, for me, that was when I really took the time to own my birthright of self-worth. And it was this gorgeous moment where I just moved beyond everything that my mind had constructed and told me around my life. The story that my life had been and what all that trauma meant to me and everything. I really just absolutely was able to deconstruct that. And so that was a massive shift, and it was really so foundational to my business, because not only did, reclaiming my self-worth and moving into that creative space lift me up, but I also decided that I was going to start charging what I was worth, and that is huge. I mean, Kim, you teach women how to sell, and I mean, you know what a big piece that is, to step up and actually say, you know what, this is what I charge because this is what I'm worth. I'm bringing this to the table, and, you know, I'm comfortable charging these fees. Mm-hmm. So that was huge for me, to just really stop giving away, you know, the processes, and stop giving away the work, and stop working with clients for free. And, you know, obviously I still do scholarships and things like that, but really moved into that, self-worth piece of owning that and actually seeing the abundance returned in a monetary value as well as other ways.
You know, absolutely, Andrea. My husband just said this the other day. Desperate people do desperate things. Desperate people do desperate things. And, you know, and you and I, we dance in a circle, if you will, amongst women, you know, being in the book and working with women, and I work specifically with women right now, and that's growing, though. That's expanding. But I find it's the women gender, not picking on our gender, but it's the women gender that lacks that self-worth. And so there's a couple pieces to, you know, like what shifted for you. There's a lot of pieces. And when I do teach women how to sell, there's a couple pieces there. Number one, you have to be crystal clear what your passion is. You have to be. And I just heard this earlier on another show that Bold Radio Station was hosting, is you have to be so passionate about what it is you do. You cannot wait to get out of bed in the morning to see what the day is going to bring, even though you do have some managing involved in that day, but to also see what evolves from that day. And then you have to understand, you have to believe in yourself and believe in what your business is, whether it's a brick and mortar, you know, product that you're selling, or, you know, like yourself, Andrea, you know, this online program and the coaching and these books, you know, or if it's just a basic service. I shouldn't say just a basic service, but if it's a service, you know, we have to be so believed and locked down on that. And number three is the confidence in going for the ask. And women love to talk and ask, but we get afraid when we put that SELL, nasty dirty 4-letter word around involved in that. But we do. If we don't value ourselves, nobody else will. If we don't believe in ourselves, nobody else will. And I'm seeing a lot of that going on right now. Unfortunately.
I know, and I know that you do such a great job of that, selling, you know, authentically and teaching women how to do that. And really, for me, when I stepped into that place, I just knew that as soon as every woman feels their worth, they are going to sell from that heart space. They're going to actually charge what they are worth.
Yeah, exactly. And you know something, we are worth it. You know, again, not to divide and conquer the genders, but men do it with absolutely no problem. And I'm not saying men are not out there and they don't have issues, because yes, men are human and they do have their issues, but they do that without any problem. And you know, we label men when they do that without any problem. Gosh, he's confident and, you know, this and that, right. You know. But then when we step into that, you know, we start labeling, you know, bitchy and, you know, she's not nice and stuff like that.
Pushy or whatever.
Yeah, pushy. When quite in fact, we're just stepping into our pretty glass slippers, you know, as Cinderella would put it. But anyways, you know, so here's my next question.
All right,
so here we go. Okay. And the #1 international bestseller, and I know you've already alluded on some of this, so let's see, you know, I want to hear some more, though, too. The Missing Piece, A Transformational Journey, which you and I were both co-authors in.
Yes.
You share a story about your journey through the CPTSD. I cannot believe, I'm so proud of myself, I'm saying the CPTSD, and it's almost 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And you also give readers a specific process that you developed to move through any sort of fear. And of course, you know, there's fear everywhere. So can you share your why behind the process, why it works, and why you develop it, and a little bit about your chapter from that book?
Oh, for sure. So I think I'll start with why I developed it. And I know I touched on that. It was really out of necessity, going through the CPTSD. It is a tongue twister, isn't it?
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yeah. And what that process ended up being is it's called touching the fear. And really it was my response to anxiety. So anxiety is one of the classic CPTSD symptoms. And I had, despite my life of trauma and all the stuff that I'd been through, I'd never experienced anxiety before. So I remember clearly writing in my journal, it's actually now become the introduction to the Shortcuts to Spirituality trilogy, and it said, I can no longer see the face of God. I look into the mirror and I no longer recognize myself. So it was so deep that it was really threatening to control my life, and I needed to find a way through it or literally die. I had actually, thoughts of suicide just to escape that agony of the anxiety. And, I refused the pharmaceuticals because I didn't want to mask it. I didn't want to go down, create another problem over top of the existing problem. And I did try traditional therapy, and it was ineffective. So I thought, okay, there's got to be a better way, and I'm going to create this. And so that's exactly what I did. And what's really interesting about the process is my husband, who has now been able to get off of the anti-anxiety medication, which he was on for 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And he commented to me that he had never seen anyone go through anxiety the way I did. And by using that process, really, I was able to coexist with it at the same time that I moved through it. So even though I was going through all this agony and this really deep, torturous type of feeling for me because it was so unfamiliar and so uncomfortable, I was able to observe myself at the same time with this process. So for me, it was just this huge, wow, okay, I can step into this and I can, touch the fear and I can actually move through it. So it was just a huge, huge piece. And when I've used it with clients on different fears, not just anxiety now, they have had such incredible breakthroughs that, it's mind-blowing. Obviously, I'm not going to share all their breakthroughs, but they were able to dismantle whatever it was for them, whatever the constructs that the mind creates for you. So whatever that fear is made out of, the story that you've made up. And then you go right into it, and then it has no choice but to dissolve. It's just this, it literally falls away.
Yes. Yeah. That's interesting. It just literally falls away.
Yeah, it's so simple, and yet we're so afraid to actually, sort of confront fear as if it were that. And really, as I call it, touching the fear. And when we refuse to do that, when we refuse to look at it, we build even more story around it.
Yeah, I've always wondered why, Andrea, first of all, there's two things here that I'm hearing, but I've always wondered why in that last one, I always wonder why people are they're in fear, but they're so afraid to address the fear. And I don't know if it's because of societal pressures and societal messages and, societal, how we're brought up and,
right.
Things like that. And I'm sure it's that, and I'm sure there's so much more to around fear,
Yes.
It's like we're tired of being tired and we're afraid of being tired, but yet we won't address the root, which is the fear, and how to get over that. And I truly believe, it is a very easy, process. And that's amazing. After 30 years, your husband's off of the anxiety medicine. So I heard you say, do you believe that anxiety is a root of fear, or fear comes out of anxiety? Because I heard you say a couple of things around the anxiety and fear, the two words.
Yeah. And what I would say is they seem to actually coexist together too, as with any fear. So I would say that the root of fear is always the mind, because it's always the story that we build around something. So if you're afraid to, say, speak in public, the only reason that you're afraid to speak in public is because you've built some sort of story around that. Whether it's, nobody's going to listen to me, nobody's going to show up, I'm going to look stupid, I'm going to sound funny, or whatever it may be, that, the story that you've constructed, it only exists in your mind. So that's the root of all fear, is the mind. And you have to go into that in order to touch it, to dissolve it.
Isn't that amazing? Because it's, it's just like with anything. If we tend to continue to avoid or lift up that, metaphorically speaking, carpet and sweep things under, holy moly, that carpet's going to be so huge, we're not even going to be able to walk around it anyway. So
that's right.
We might as well confront it.
We'll trip over that carpet as soon as we try to get in the front door.
Yeah, we're going to do more than trip. We're not going to be able to open up that front door to either get in or out.
That's right.
So That is wonderful that you did try some of the traditional routes. But when I hear you speaking about the traditional routes and actually realizing that it was not helping the anxiety, I can relate to this because I have anxiety disorder as well. And I'm not quite sure if I went into a little bit of adrenal disrupt or if it was a little bit of chronic fatigue. I think a couple of years ago mine was chronic fatigue, but
oh, and they're closely related. They're actually commonly misdiagnosed.
Yeah. I know they are very closely related. But I forgot where I was going here, so let me come back around. So around that anxiety, I know that when I was in the midst of it, I just want everyone to know, when I was in the midst of it, and I can only speak for me. I don't want to speak for Andrea. I don't want to speak for anyone else. When I was in the midst of it, it's you're aware, everybody. You are very you're subconscious conscious. That was kind of a two-sided wording there, but you are aware that you have anxiety.
Right.
The thing is I went on some very low dose traditional medication. This was like about 10, 11 years ago. To get ahead, I called my anxiety a runaway train. It is a locomotive runaway train. So
yeah,
it was very low dose for myself to get ahead of it. So, what did you do? Just kind of finally walk out of your therapist's office and or a psychiatrist, because that's where we have to go to get the medication, and just say, screw this, I'm done with everything?
Yeah, well, I told my doctor right off the bat that I wouldn't take any pharmaceuticals because they'd already tried to give me antidepressants years prior, and they never worked. I got what was called the flat effect, which is essentially I didn't care about anything. Somebody next to me could have died, and I wouldn't have given a shit. It would have just been like, okay, see you later. Yeah. It was literally that much of a disconnect from life. And that means that your body doesn't need it. So I knew, I already knew that that wasn't what I was suffering from. So I'd had that, years before, that little sort of going down that path and realizing, okay, no, this doesn't fix anything. So when it came to this time, I said, and it basically fluctuates. And what would happen is as soon as I was stressed, my adrenals would kick in and I'd get into that adrenal drain, right? And I'd get ill and I'd go through this period of sickness, and then I'd feel great coming out the other end, and I'd, attack the business all over again. So I've gone through this my whole life. And so just saying no to the pharmaceuticals to me was huge, because I know, the doctor was really pressuring, this is the way to go, and this will get it, you'll just be able to just get right over it. And I'm thinking, part of me, okay, that's a shortcut. But at the same time, I didn't want to create that reliance on those drugs. And I'd seen how my husband was dealing with, his anti-anxiety drugs, and I didn't want that route. So working with the naturopath, there's actually quite a few natural homeopathic remedies that will work on the same receptors as those anti-anxiety drugs. Mm-hmm. So I took some all-natural pellets that were homeopathic, and they happened to sort of have a calming effect, not a sedative effect, but they would calm you down. And I really started, loading up on potassium and things like that, anything that was natural that could help me make that shift. But also at the same time, I just knew that if I could actually touch this thing called anxiety, I could dismantle it. So I had that belief, I guess, all along, and it really just took that, watching myself maybe one too many times cry. There was 2 months where I did not leave the house. I would literally burst into tears every time my husband would say, okay, let's just go get groceries or something. And I knew there was nothing to fear, and I would cry, but I was watching myself crying, and I was watching myself go through that. So really, part of that might have been all the deep spiritual work I had done too, but I just really knew for me, it wasn't going to be a fix with pharmaceuticals. Yeah. And going to the group therapy session with, a bunch of other people who are suffering from anxiety, they were essentially trying to teach the same things that I teach myself in life coaching. So really it was just going, oh, okay, there's nothing new here. There's no new tidbits to help me through. I'd really hoped for that, that magic pill or that golden egg, and there wasn't anything there. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to do this myself then. I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's if anyone can take away a huge golden kernel nugget, is hearing Andrea saying, you know, I can do this myself, but she didn't just wake up one day and say, I can do this myself. She went through some major steps, and I was very blessed and very fortunate. I stumbled upon by a very strong referral to a great therapist who, Eve Cribbs is her name. She changed my life. She absolutely changed my life. She, I mean, I remember walking in and she looked at me and she goes, my job is to eventually work you out of my office. And I'm like, well, I've never heard that from a therapist before. And,
Perfect.
And worked with me on the non-traditional route. But after several months and still not being able to drive my locomotive train, because see, what I hear from you is, you know, you would stress and it would take you down. I would stress and I would get high. Mine was opposite to yours. It was almost like that endorphin high. So I would go work out like a fiend.
Yes.
Thinking I was feeding my endorphins and making me better, but I was making myself more sick. So mine was almost like, but then I eventually crashed after many years of that, being an adrenaline junkie. I eventually crashed. So you and I, it was like almost like opposite ends, but then we also a lot of similarities, which I knew some of that, but not all of that about us.
Yeah, we actually, it's so funny. Every time our stories intersect, you and I, Kim, we learn different things about, you know, how we started in the fitness business and nutrition and all that. And it's so fun.
I know. I'm just like listening to you going, okay, this could not have been pre-rehearsed. And trust me, everybody, it was not pre-rehearsed. Let's just get that out right here and now.
That's right.
So, you know, I want you to, you've been talking a little bit about this, so maybe there's some more here to expand upon. So you say Shortcuts to Spirituality began as a personal experience. Is that what you're talking about with, you know, with the adrenal and all that, or is there more there, Andrea?
Yeah, I mean, that's a piece of it, but there's definitely more to it, because I often joke about the title, Shortcuts to Spirituality, being tongue-in-cheek, because, of course, it was shaped by my entire life, right? It's not this just, bam, oh, it came to me, here it is. So, and it wasn't merely those years of trauma, either. It was, and, you know, all the painful pieces of my life, or even the 15-year spiritual journey that I embarked on. It was really a reconciliation of all of those pieces into one whole. And a big part of that for me was really recognizing that mainstream spirituality has really turned into nothing more than another religion. And this is huge for me, because it's almost as if now when you're talking about spirituality, everyone thinks that, oh, I need to suffer. Oh, I need to go through these processes. Oh, I have to, you know, work through the shame and the guilt. And it's all this, you know, I have to go deep and I have to, you know, find my purpose and all these things. And it's really the same types of things that religion has thrown over top of us. You know, you have to suffer and you have to go through all these steps, and you can't smoke and you can't drink and you can't have sex with many partners, and, you know, all these things. And now spirituality suddenly has all of these, you know, oh, you're not spiritual, you do this and that.
Yep.
And really what it comes down to is you can transform your life in one single conscious moment. And when I realized that, it was really just stepping into my birthright of bliss. And I understood that it's really that simple. We can transform our lives on one simple conscious moment. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be all this stuff. It doesn't have to be the murk. You don't have to go deep into the muck and wallow and suffer. It's up to you. If you want to suffer, if you want to go through that, then yes, by all means, there are processes that can take you there, and, you know, things that maybe for the dignity of your own process you need to work through. But I'm very adamant that you can actually just make one decision that's initiated by a new thought form and change your life on that thought form. Mm-hmm. So that's where the shortcut piece comes in, because when you allow yourself to be that open and that accepting of what is possible and actually entertain that and shift your thoughts, you can change.
Yeah. Yep. Yes.
So really, literally, like in an instant.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And some people do believe, and some people need to go back into their past and dance in there and recognize what maybe some missing pieces are there to complete that puzzle so that they can move on. And my analogy is when you've gone back to your past and stepped into your past and you've healed and you talk about your past, when you speak about it, it is a story. It is not a part of you anymore when you have healed from it. And there's a huge difference, and that's probably about the best way that I could possibly explain it right now. It's like you don't wear it like your favorite pair of yoga pants, and everyone knows me. I love my yoga pants. It's a story. It's something that is sitting out over there that you do speak, but you're not wearing it. You really don't even feel it anymore because you've moved on from it. So, if anyone can take that away for them as well, is, it could be just one single thought. In fact, Andrea, that was the post that I put today on Facebook, is begin your day with one small positive thought, and it could really shift your whole day. I mean, one small positive thought can shift your whole day.
Yeah, it is absolutely that simple.
Yes.
And I have been down the other path. I mean, I have languished and I have suffered and I have dragged my trauma out of me, like in so many painful different ways. And I caused myself to suffer more with relationships that I chose and, all those things and whatever it was in me that convinced me I have to suffer. I mean, it was for my own growth, and I accept and I love that I made those choices because they have put me in this moment exactly right now. And I also know that there is this more simple way, this more graceful and easy way. And what I love about the whole Shortcuts to Spirituality experience is because it incorporates the Guru You, the online program, which has all the processes in it, with the Shortcuts to Spirituality trilogy, which offers you these insights and these shifts in perspective. So you can, one or the other, all I need is to read this sentence and I can make the shift. Or, you know what? I actually need to go back into the little girl and I need to ask her what she felt about that because I really need to move that out. So it's just that the person who's deciding, they get to make that choice. So can I shift in this moment? Can I move into enough stillness that I can accept this new thought and really shift into that? Or do I need to do a process around it? And for some people, they need a process, and that's totally, cool.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's different strokes for different folks. Excuse my pun, but it is different strokes for different folks. And bottom line is whatever works. Whatever it works for the individual. So is your the Guru You, your online is are you launching that as like an 8-week online course where a group of people will be coming together, or is this on your website, which as soon as I'm done here, we're going to share your links, even though the show's not done. I just want to say, how are you handling and managing this?
Yeah, so the Guru You is actually going to be online, and it's going to be self-directed, although I will be offering support in the form of calls. So, everybody can get on a group call and, I've been going through this process, I've been going through that, whatever it is for them. And we can talk about, do you need any further direction, or how did that work for you? And I always find that in these sharing, in these, this type of forum, that someone may say something about a process that they went through, and that can be the key for somebody else to go, it makes sense now. Or, I didn't think about it that way. They can take away so much more than just having me facilitate it, or just having one person, working on your own. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. And it's going to have a lot of fun to it, too. It's really, I've moved into this whole thing about play and fun and bliss and joy. And life is not a serious thing. It doesn't have to be this massive, serious thing. We need to have more fun. So the Guru You is sort of a play on Dr. Seuss, and there's no one more you than you. He's got a little cute little quote about it, and so I've changed it to, of course, there's no one more guru than the Guru You. And again, I reinforce that it's about going inside yourself. So I may be the facilitator, guide, whatever you want to call me, but I am not the key. You are the key.
I think that is amazing. I just love that. And something, yes. Life can be serious, and at times, yes, there's depth and there is seriousness, but we do have to have fun. I was just writing an article about that today. Wellness and fun and wellness.
Oh, yeah.
We got to have fun. Oh my gosh, we've got to have fun.
Yes, it's long overdue. We've become far too serious.
Oh my God, we're way too serious. Okay, the show is not over, but Andrea, please give everyone the right now, and we'll do it again at the end of the show if the links with it, people can get in touch with you.
Yes, absolutely. So my current website is still under construction, but you are welcome to go check it out, and that is shortcutstospirituality.com. And I also have an offer on there for you. If you go to shortcutstospirituality.com/life-coaching, you can apply for a free life coaching strategy session with me. And you can also feel free anytime to go to my old website, which is still functioning. My blogs are still being run on that platform because I have yet to figure out my new platform. So that's AndreaDykstra.com, and that's AndreaDykstra.com.
Mm-hmm. That's neat. Yeah, and we'll repeat those again at the end, towards the end of the show as well.
Great.
So, all right. One of the hardest things for an upcoming author to do is to get an audience with a traditional publisher.
Yeah.
And you're going to be like a pro at this by the end of the year. So,
yeah.
So with this trilogy in its infancy, and oh my gosh, you crack me up. When you envision it as one book instead of three, you've had a publisher approach you and ask you if you could publish your book. So what is it about this trilogy that has created such a stir, and how are people going to get their books out there? Because you've got 8 sitting there waiting.
Yes. And I have been absolutely blessed in this whole experience, because before I even said, okay, it was literally when I was thinking it was only one book, and I don't know if I shared that story before, but I had this download while Paul and I were traveling in Southeast Asia, and I had been finishing a book, and I had literally languished on that book for 5 to 7 years. I'm not even sure how long, because I just would take it up periodically. It was a very painful read, and it was a very painful process to write. And so it was just complete. I'd literally, last period in the book, done. We're cruising around Asia. Went into meditation. I had this instant recognition that I was not to publish that book. And I said this to Paul, and he just about died. I watched his lips just purse up into this tight little line, and he's going, what? Because he knew how much I'd put into it and how much I had done. And I said, this is not the book that I'm going to publish. And I said, on top of that, though, I've been told I'm going to know which book to write after this, at some point. And so we get back from Asia, and about 2 months go by, and I still have nothing. And so I finally just say to the universe, I'm ready. So I'm willing to accept whatever gift you are going to offer me. And within 2 hours of that, I began writing Shortcuts to Spirituality. And then it morphed into this trilogy. So when it was this single book, I was traveling in Calgary, and I came across this lady who had just retired from the teaching and everything, and she was getting into editing. And it couldn't have been more perfect, because she's totally into the spiritual sort of, the places that I travel in, the sort of groups that I mingle with. And so it's not that religious spirituality. It's more of that, the actual path back to ourself. So she offered to edit the book and now edit all the books.
I love it.
And I was just blessed to know a publisher that I had been to many of his courses. He's actually been my mentor for quite some time, Michael Drew. And as soon as he found out what I was writing, he actually said to me, it was quite funny. I think you'll see the post on Facebook or somewhere. He wrote, "Can I pimp your book?"
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
Yeah. And so we've just been talking as it's evolved, right? Because here I'm going, okay, well, you know what? It's not one book anymore. Now it's 3, and then I know I wrote 2 other ones, and now there's 8 books. So he's been so gracious with just allowing me to flow with the whole process. Yeah. So I know that it's not going to work that way for everyone. I understand that. But I think that why people are getting so excited about this is because they're just ready for this kind of shift. I mean, they're literally approaching a place where they're willing to accept 100% responsibility for the life that they've created. So what I would say about Shortcuts to Spirituality is it's like a roadmap or a guidebook leading you back into yourself. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I know it's not going to be released until later this year, but I have had a chance to share pieces In my blogs, you'll find bits and pieces throughout my blog, so definitely feel free to go in there, and you'll find little chunks in there. And I've also made some short movies, and I know, Kim, you've seen some. I shared a few of them with the Missing Piece ladies.
Yes.
Yeah, and then and you can also find them on YouTube too, of course. And then I don't know if you're familiar or if this is just a Canadian thing, so bear with me here, but do you know Stuart McLean of the Vinyl Cafe?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, he is, well, I listen to him every Sunday, and I just love what he does. He takes a book, and he reads it on the radio, one of his stories, and he's absolutely amazing at it. So what I started doing is incorporating excerpts from my books, from the Shortcuts to Spirituality trilogy, into my radio show as well on CTR Network. So it's just been a lot of fun, because I feel like I'm getting that play in, and I'm, able to express this reading of a story and sort of drawing people into it, which is sort of an added piece other than just, here's my book and you read it on your own. So I quite have fun with it.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like that. That's a neat idea. I really like that a lot. That's a great idea. I have to keep my ears open for that one. All right. So you are the shortcut expert. What shortcuts can we wrap up with the show today? Taking that the audience can take on their own for their own business, from struggling to booming. Oh my God! Good God, people, please quit struggling. From struggling, that's my heartfelt message. Please quit struggling. From struggling to booming. What kind of shortcut? Being that you are the shortcut expert.
Absolutely. So moving from that place of struggle, I love what you say, that we need to stop the struggling. Our world can't take it anymore.
No, gosh, no.
So I know that I'm coming from the space where we've sort of been conditioned that we need to undergo a process or a method, and potentially painful, and pour thousands of dollars or hours or whatever it is into it, and make sacrifices, earn it. We've been subjected to all these different beliefs that it can't just be ours. So, and some, like we just spoke about, some people may need to do some of the processes and whatever. It's just whatever the dignity of the process is for them. Let's allow that. But again, I come back to that shift that can happen. It's literally, you can shift from struggle to abundance in one single moment. And the key to this, so I hope everybody has pen and paper. It's very short. It's a shortcut. It literally is. So the key is to open your heart. That's it. And once you do that, once you actually learn how to open your heart again and connect with that space, you drop all of the stories that your mind has created about your existence. Mm-hmm. Everything just falls away. And I know that for some of you, this may sound a little too woo-woo. It may be too easy sounding. But I really invite you into the space of exploring that. So just when you look at reality, what is it? It is literally this pure consciousness, the soul, if you want to call it that, at play in the physical world. So we each create our own experience. We have the ability to do this with our mind, which is the ego, or we can shift into that soul space and we can create with a sense of joy and play. And really, when you make that shift, when you transition, and literally it is just, a single thought away, you learn how to play. You learn how to choose joy. The whole world becomes magical for us. Mm-hmm. It's incredible to witness.
Yeah. I love that you said that. We create from our mind into our, if we open up our heart, we move from our mind and lead from our soul space, our heart, which is, quite frankly, Andrea, I'm the biggest believer, and, call me right or wrong or whatever, but I believe that all human beings should be living from their soul space, their heart, and making decisions from their heart, or AKA some people call it, oh yeah, my gut is kicking in, which is our intuition. Right. That's our heart and our soul going to work,
Yes.
And, the universal energies that are guiding us, that we ask for, by the way, everybody, we ask for that. My favorite expression with I always, when I teach kids a leadership course that I'm involved in, the expression is, be careful what you ask for. I tell them, don't you dare ever be careful what you ask for.
No.
You just be crystal clear what you're asking for, because it goes knock, knock, knock right on your front door.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad, Kim, that you are teaching that to children, because, oh my goodness, do we ever need words like that?
Yes.
We need our children to hear words like that.
Yeah, and I hear from even adults, oh, you better be careful what you ask for. I'm like, gosh, don't be careful what you ask for. You just better be clear what you ask for, because it arrives.
Yeah.
So if you are half-assed, you're going to get a half-assed arrival. If you are full throttle, you will receive full throttle. You just have to be extremely crystal clear on what it is that you're putting out there. So I love that when you, your shortcut, to go from struggling to booming is open up your heart and release the mind, because, our minds, that hag in the attic, as I call her, the bitch in the attic, she's driving us. She's driving us. When we meet her as part of our baseball team, if you will, I like to use my analogies, but we have to manage her. We can't let that ego control us. We have to manage the ego. And little FYI, everybody, we cannot get rid of the ego. We cannot diminish that hag in the attic. But boy, we can make her sugary sweet, eating out of our hands. We have that capability. And that's what we all need to be doing, so that we do open up from the heart and release the mind. Oh my God, that mind crap that we bought into. Oh my God.
Absolutely. And I understand that people are going to say, or may say, how do I make that shift? How do I get into that heart space? And are there specific methods to move into this place of bliss, if you want to call it that? Absolutely. Of course, there's meditation. You drop into stillness in an instant in meditation, and I know that some people feel like they have to work at it, but if you actually let go of trying to attain meditation, it just comes, it flows. So yeah, just open up into that stillness. And when you recognize yourself as source, or God, if you prefer, you create everything from that expansive place, instead of the, what did you call it? The hag in the attic?
The hag in the attic. She's the bitch in the attic.
Yes. Can you imagine how much more your life is going to be, like how much more joyful and playful and everything when you create from that space, instead of that confined and nattering and, mind chatty place. It's just, the shift is instantaneous, and you will absolutely feel it.
Yeah, and and again, we are not supposed to be confined in our heads, even though that's where a lot of people live. It's because of how the societal pressures and the stories that we buy into, and they're just stories. They are just stories. It's the good old-fashioned fear, false evidence appearing real. It is false evidence appearing real, or better. What's the other one for fear?
Like Stephen King's, it's fuck everything and run.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah, I know. I didn't know Stephen King did that. I've heard that before. I didn't know it was Stephen King. But
yeah, he did it in one of his books. I can't remember which one, because, of course, I'm a closet fan. I have all of his stuff.
Yeah, I love Stephen King. So when we teach the kids, of course, we cannot say that word when we teach the kids in Malaysia. We just, it's flee and flee, yeah, flee. We use the word, just, get out, where you're running, because it's fear. But, yeah, so we've got a few minutes left here, Andrea. If you could let our listeners know again where they can get in touch with you.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Kim. Thanks. So they can find me on my old website, which is AndreaDykstra.com, and that's AndreaDykstra.com. That's where all my blogs and everything are currently hosted. And you can also pop over to my new site, which, bear with us, it is under construction. It's shortcutstospirituality.com. And there's an offer there for you. It's at shortcutstospirituality.com/life-coaching.
Very nice. I think everybody should take advantage of that.
Absolutely, yes, and do so soon, because the way this year is shaping up, it's absolutely jam-packed for scheduling and just all sorts of creative collaborations and beautiful, beautiful projects. So
that's
really
great.
Exciting.
And I think everybody should connect with you. Oh, here we go. I'm shooting all over everybody tonight. I just, again, reach out to Andrea, because then you can also receive when books will be launched and, these online programs. And something tells me this one online program is probably maybe going to evolve and grow. You never know with everything that Andrea has going on. So you just want to be in touch so you can keep up with this amazing shortcut to spirituality ball rolling woman that is on my show this evening.
Thank you. Yes, everything continues to evolve, and I would love just anybody to come on over. And yeah, if this resonates with you, for sure, come over and check it out, and have a look through the blogs, and you'll get little shortcuts experiences all the way through.
Yeah, and I love those shortcuts. It's just, Andrea, I have so many people say to me, what are you always in such a hurry for? And it's like, okay, I'm 54 years old. Do you want to sit here another 54 more years and try and figure all this out? Or would you like to ramp this up and get to the solution of all this and really live joyously and have this non-struggling but booming business and non-struggling but booming life? What's it going to be? You take your pick. Okay, we can move slowly.
You got it.
Oh my gosh, how much longer do you want to sit here?
Oh, I think we could talk about that for ages.
That could be a whole show. I just had a visualization of a turtle, a really pretty turtle, with that hard shell. Imagine that, boy. You and I can go into a whole other show about that one.
Oh yeah, I've got a great visual, and the hag in the attic behind.
That poor turtle. Now, come on.
Aw. Too funny.
I know.
It's always such a fun time to be on your show, Kim. I really want to thank you for inviting me on and allowing me to share.
My pleasure. Thanks for coming on tonight. Is there any parting words you would like to give to our listeners?
Wow. Yeah. I would say really just take this in and absolutely allow the possibility that you can shift in that one single moment. So it may seem completely off the wall to you right now. You may be, when Eckhart Tolle said that he woke up one day and all of a sudden got everything, I literally, and I'm going to use another expletive here just to say exactly what I said said, fuck you, Eckhart Tolle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I was going, how can that happen? I thought, no way, he's lying. And then when I really actually, did the work and looked at what was possible, going through the processes and realized I could also just flip the switch and shift my perspective. It was that simple. So I'm here to tell you that I have done all the hard stuff. I've been through the suffering. I've gone down all those roads.
Yep.
And you can change your thoughts in one single conscious moment. And it is so easy to get there if you just open your heart and really just connect with your intuition and your soul and understand that the universe is supporting you fully in every single moment. Yep. You're not alone.
Absolutely. And gather your peeps. Gather the people that rise you up, not knock you down. And that's just more of, of coming stronger and changing on that really pivotal, quick thought. Because you can, on your toes, I like to say, on a drop of a dime, on your toes, you can do that. You can. Anything is possible, number one. And we are capable of doing that. We really are.
Yes. And I know that you know this for sure. When you step fully into your worth, you start surrounding yourself with the people who also have that same sense of self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously that goes to the point of where you are in this moment. If you're not feeling healthy about yourself and you're not feeling happy with yourself, look around you and see who you're surrounding yourself with as well. There may be changes that need to happen, right? It's all part of the process. And as Farhana Dalla always says, things, they're not endings, they're completions.
Absolutely. They're not endings. They are completions. And by the way, I want to add in one more to that too, because I love your play on words, Andrea. Someone just said this a couple of weeks ago. Gosh, I don't remember. It was one of my radio shows, and I brought up the word mistakes. We have mistakes,
right,
and we grow from our mistakes. We learn from our mistakes. And she said, I don't like to look at them as mistakes. I like to look at them as lessons.
Yes. Absolutely. And again, you're talking about perspective, right? It's that shift.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So if you go from looking at something as a mistake and then you change that into a lesson, how much greater are you going to feel about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Perfect.
Well, I thank you so much, Andrea, for taking some time out. Well, it's early evening for you, isn't it?
Yes, it's just about dinner time.
Yeah, I was going to say dinner time. Dinner time for you, bedtime for Kim. Oh my goodness. I'm so glad I could be your appetizer to your dinner and for coming on the show tonight. I'm really appreciative. Thank you so much. It's always so much fun having you on the show. Your energy is amazing. Everybody, please reach out with Andrea. Look her up on Facebook. If you are going to reach out to her on Facebook, just give her a little note and say you heard her on, Kim's show, just so she knows who you are and where you're coming from. And go, seek out her website, and you want to get connected because this woman has got books coming out and, programs, and just you want to be able to keep up.
Yeah, keep up. I love it.
Keep up and stay connected. So, again, Andrea, thank you for being on this evening. And listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. Again, next Monday night is Bold Mindful Mondays on the Lead Her Up Is In Women on the Rise radio show. We're broadcasting live from the Bold radio station. I look forward to hearing, I cannot see, but I look forward to hearing you all next Monday. And don't forget to join us 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, Andrea, thank you so much for being here this evening.
Oh, thank you, Kim. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks. Everyone have a great evening. Good night.
Good night.